All right, today I'm going to be showing you our next project, which is called Value Objects. So we're continuing to study and practice creating value, that gradual transition from light to dark. In our previous project, your monochromatic self-portrait, we practiced mixing tints and shades. We're going to continue to practice that in this project as well. However, we're going to be applying it a little bit different. So in our monochromatic self-portrait, we really blocked out the different value segments, and you were really trying to mimic each grayscale with your tints and shades on your value scale worksheet that you created with paint. Well, this time we're going to practice mixing those tints and shades, but we want to practice blending them so it's more of a gradual transition. So the key here in this project is really just that blending. Again, you're showing me that you know how to mix tints and shades and create that gradual transition, but this time by blending. So in this project, we're going to start out by completing this worksheet. You're just going to quickly refresh your brain on mixing tints and shades, and then in this flower, we're going to practice a gradual transition, more blended. I'm going to be showing you that first. This is 20 points towards your overall grade, so you will need to take a picture and upload this worksheet when you have that completed. But the actual project is a value object. So we're going to be looking at, check out the Google slide, because in the Google slide we're going to be looking at pop art. Pop artists focused on everyday object and things in popular culture. So for this project, we're really leaning more towards the everyday object side of the pop art movement. So look at your Google slide, learn those artists. That art movement took place in the 1950s and 60s, and so you're going to be selecting an everyday object. In this example, I used scissors. So first up, you're going to be sketching. Of course, I'm going to walk you through all these steps. Sketching your object, and then we're creating value and painting first the background of your object. In the background, you're going from light to dark, but you can go from top to bottom, your choice, and then you're flipping it within the object. So I went from the bottom to the top, light to dark. Remember, when we paint and we're creating value, we're always working light to dark. And then in the scissors, then I reverse that, so then I'm going to go light to dark in the opposite direction. So check out the Google slide as we talk about also different objects that you can use. I'm going to explain that more in a little bit as we move into video 2 on the actual project. In this first video, though, I'm going to be just walking you through the first steps of just practicing and completing this worksheet. So for this assignment, you again are going to need tempera paint, or you can use acrylic, whatever you have at home. You're going to need white and black, and then one color of your choice. In my example today, I'm going to be using this light blue, but any color will do. You need a paper plate. You're gonna need a paintbrush and some water, and then you'll also need a paper towel. Also make sure you print off the worksheet. If you don't have access to a printer, email me. I am happy to leave copies of those or any materials that you may need in the office for you to pick up. If you need paint, if you need to borrow a paintbrush, let me know. I'm happy to leave that here at Triad Middle School for you to pick up. Okay, follow along as I show you how to complete step 1, which is the tints and shades flower worksheet, as we practice blending those values together. So you're going to take your paper plate and you're going to put a small dollop of white, black, and the color of your choice. We're starting with our tints. Remember, always start with our lightest tint and gradually get darker. So to do that, you're going to take a little bit of your color and mix it into your whole palette of white. You want to mix it thoroughly so you don't have any streaks. We want one nice solid value. So this is our lightest tint. You're going to first paint the tint circle at the top, and then as you move to the flower, we are starting with our lightest tint on the edges of the petals, and then we're going to gradually get darker as we reach the center of the flower. So you're going to go around to each petal on the edges, and you are going to put a little bit of your tint all around each outer edge of each petal. Once you've completed your first tint, then you're going to add a little bit of your color, again, to that previous tint. That's how you're going to guarantee that it's just a little bit darker. We're trying to go for about 3 tints, and then you're going to wash your brush, your color unmixed, in 2 shades. So now I've got my next darkest tint, and now we are blending and we're overlapping with our previous tint just a little bit, because remember, we're really practicing blending. In our previous project, we were really sort of segmenting and separating those tints, and now we want to work on creating a nice gradual transition. So we're overlapping and blending your next tint with your previous tint. And what's important is to make sure your brush stroke is going in the same direction. Okay, so now I'm moving on to my third tint. So you're trying to get 3 tints. So I'm adding a little bit more blue to my previous tint. That's how I'm going to guarantee that it's a little bit darker. Mixing it thoroughly because we don't want any streaks. If you need to roll your brush to get some of that excess paint off. All right, and now I'm going to again overlap with my previous tint to making sure my brush strokes are all going in the same direction. And I'm moving around my petal. Sometimes to help blend, you might want to dip your paintbrush and just wet the bristles a little bit, and that will also help you to blend and create more of a gradual transition with blending. All right, so I have my 3 tints, so now I'm going to wash my brush. Remember, when we move to our color unmixed, you need to wash your brush so you don't have any white still in your brush. So now I have a nice clean brush so that my color unmixed is its true color. And now I'm going to overlap my true color unmixed with my previous tint and blend around my flower. All right, now I'm going to mix, I'm sorry, don't forget to paint your circle at the top. That's your color unmixed. After you've completed that, then you're moving on to your 2 shades. So remember, we always mix our strong color into our weak color. So white is our weakest color, so we always add a little bit of our color into the white. But now when we're moving to shades, my weak color becomes my color unmixed because black is really strong. So now you're going to take just a little bit of black because we want to mix 2 shades. This is your first shade. Take a little bit of black and mix that into your color, your true color. All right, so I'm painting my shade circle at the top, and then you're going to paint your first shade around your flower, being sure to overlap your first shade with your previous tint. Notice that again my brush strokes are moving in the same direction. It's almost like I'm bursting outward, or I'm fanning inward toward the center in a circular motion. So if you need to rotate your paper, if that helps, you can do that as well. All right, and again, to help blend those colors, if you want to dip your paintbrush just in a little bit of water, sometimes that helps to blend the colors more smoothly together. Now you're going to mix your last shade. So you're taking a little bit more black, mixing it thoroughly, and filling in the remainder of the flower. Again, overlapping and blending. Once you have completed the worksheet practicing blending your tints and shades, upload an image of your completed worksheet to Google Classroom, as this worksheet is 20 points towards your overall grade. Next, check out video 2 for step-by-step instructions on how to complete your value object art project.